Hi, it's Panda Movies here. Today, I'm going to explain the Filipino horror movie called Bloody Crayons. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. The movie is centered around 9 graduating students that are supposed to work on their final project that could make or break their chances of graduating with the rest of their class. The group heads to an island across the sea to finish their final project in the form of a short film. The 9 students include Eunice, a timid and soft-spoken lady; Olivia, Eunice's best friend that is her total opposite; Kenley, Olivia's on-again off-again boyfriend with whom she was currently in a cool-off mode; Justin, Kenley's rowdy and outspoken best friend; Richalaine, the very girly partygirl; Marie, who was more on the prim and classier side; Gerard, the funny one who also happens to be the eldest of the group; Kiko, the photographer who has had a long-time admiration towards Eunice; and John, the newcomer student who also shares the same admiration towards Eunice. The shooting for their film's location was suggested by Olivia, suggesting her parents' summer home on an island. Upon reaching the island, they are welcomed by Mang Pedring, the caretaker. For some unknown reason, his presence makes the group feel uneasy. As they settle in the island that is going to be home for them in the next few days, Olivia immediately notices that Kenley is cold towards her, causing her to overthink that he may be having feelings for someone else. Olivia's intuition is proven correct later on when she discovers that Kenley has been dating Marie. However, she cannot do anything about the revelation because they were broken up. Much to her dismay, however, her best friend Eunice knew the relationship between her ex and their friend, but chose to remain silent, thinking that she is protecting her. Olivia does not take this lightly, and the misunderstanding turns into a fight. The group manages to settle down, and they are reminded of why they were there. For their final project. The next morning, their shooting commences and they go about their day as if nothing happened by night prior. In the middle of their shooting, the sky begins to darken, and the winds and waves are getting stronger, signaling a storm coming, so they immediately pack up and return to the safety of the house. That night, with the ongoing storm and with nothing else to do, the group decides to play a game of Bloody Crayons, which is basically a truth or dare but with a twist. The group forms a circle around a box that has 4 sets of 5 crayons. Black, white, pink, blue, and red, with each color representing a consequence. Each player will draw 1 crayon at a time, and if a player manages to draw the black crayon, they may be able to set a rule that shall be followed during the entire course of the game, until the black crayon is drawn again, and another rule is set by another player. Should the player that is supposed to follow the rule fail to obey, the one who set the rule will have the opportunity to vandalize the face of the violator as a consequence. Drawing the white crayon, on the other hand, means immunity from the rule until the next white crayon is drawn. The pink crayon represents friendship, so whoever draws it will have to choose a friend and have them make the drawer perform a dare, while the blue crayon represents honesty, which will require the drawer to confess something they have not done before. However, if the rest of the players have done it in the past, they must vandalize their own faces, and the drawer can also write on the face of someone they know has done the confession. Last but not the least, the red crayon, considered the bloody crayon, which is the most exciting piece in the game. Drawing the red crayon will give the drawer the opportunity to fill a cup with any substance. However, this is only applicable to the first 3 drawers of the red crayon, with the final drawer of the red crayon required to drink the concoction. This also signals the end of the game. As soon as the rules are laid out to those who are unfamiliar with the game, they begin. The is already full of tension, but it only intensifies when Olivia draws the blue crayon and confesses that she slept with Kenley last week when he was supposedly already in a relationship with Marie. This revelation angers Marie, prompting her to draw the last red crayon and bravely drinking the disgusting concoction her friends have made. Ingesting the drink makes Marie throw up. This causes the group to panic and immediately hands her a bottle of water. What they did not realize, however, was that the bottle was laced with poison, causing Marie to vomit blood until she loses consciousness and dies. Suspicion immediately surrounds Olivia, so she runs away, frightened, as Kenley furiously chases after her. The rest of the group follow, trying to stop Kenley from potentially hurting Olivia, but they are too late as Olivia falls off a cliff, plummeting to her death. Their suspicion turns to Kenley, which makes him more furious and violent that Kiko and John had to bind him to a chair with ropes, much to the others' disagreement. The group begins to point fingers at each other, trying to blame one another for the deaths of their friends. Richalaine, bothered by the feud, decides to go out of the room, only to be seen by Mang Pedring, peering over the corpse of Marie. Mang Pedring immediately locks them all inside the house, trapping them all inside. Richalaine, alarmed, informs her friends of what the caretaker has done. The suspicion falls on Mang Pedring. While the others find exits and weapons, Eunice convinces Kiko to free Kenley. Kenley, on the other hand, attempts to free himself. Kiko still hesitates to free Kenley, but instead goes to check on him in the other room, only to find him dead with his throat slashed. Kenley's death angers his best friend Justin, and he threatens to kill them with a gun he had found earlier. Justin insists that one of them must have killed his best friend, since they were all trapped inside the house, with no means of getting in or out. John attempts to snatch the gun from Justin after Kiko gets knocked out, but their brawl causes the gun to accidentally hit Gerard in the stomach. John successfully disarms Justin and escapes with Eunice, while Richalaine steals the gun and hides in an upstairs bedroom. Justin, now in an all-out rage, chases after Richalaine, blaming her for Kenley's death, and threatens to kill her. After a while, Justin successfully slips past Richalaine's defense, but hits his head on a sink, knocking him unconscious. Eunice, who was already on the run with John, decides to go back for her remaining friend, while John runs off into the woods. Back in the house, Kiko wakes up and immediately helps the severely wounded Gerard. Eunice finds Richalaine, but the danger does not end for the two as they are chased by a figure dressed in one of their filmmaking costumes. The pair was successfully able to lure the attacker away from them, only to be cornered by Justin with a butcher's knife, still enraged and full of vengeance. Justin tries to kill the both of them, but Richalaine attempts to fend him off only for them to fall down a flight of stairs, killing the two instantly with the butcher's knife. Eunice is temporarily frozen by the sight of her friends' dead bodies and mourns for them. She eventually reunites with Kiko and they are then greeted by John at the door. After John left Eunice to go back to the house herself, he found a speedboat that could take them to the mainland, so he went back to gather everyone else, so that they may escape. However, this leaves Kiko suspicious, wondering how John was able to exit the house when Mang Pedring locked them in with no way of getting out. John explains Mang Pedring got killed by one of his animal traps, but Kiko, still doubtful, attempts to fight him only for John to fall on a pit. Kiko drags Eunice down to the shore with him only to find a speedboat, realizing that John was indeed telling the truth. Before the pair can even set sail away from the island, Olivia's voice emanates from Eunice's handheld transceiver, begging for help. With the hope of her best friend alive, Eunice and Kiko immediately go back to the house, only to find Olivia completely unscathed. Kiko's suspicions are transferred to Olivia, and as he was about to warn Eunice, he is suddenly stabbed by Olivia in the back. At this point, it is revealed that it was Olivia who perpetrated the whole thing. Olivia chases Eunice around the house with a shotgun, but as she was about to shoot her, John arrives and saves her. He ends up getting shot. When everything seemed to have been more chaotic than Olivia had intended, she reveals to Eunice that she only intended to kill Kenley, Marie, and her for betraying her, so she is not responsible for the deaths of their other friends. A fight and an eventual chase ensues between the two best friends, leading them to the cliff. As Olivia was about to push Eunice towards her death, a drone controlled by John flies towards them, knocking Olivia to dangle on the cliff. Eunice immediately grabs the hand of her best friend, and it is at this moment that Olivia apologizes to Eunice before falling to her actual death. John, who survived the shot, runs to help Eunice, and they take the injured Kiko to the speedboat. The trio ride away from the island to go home.